My first guest, as Russell talked, is Dane Johnson. Dane's a musician, but has found a unique way to make his music public. So, Dane, come on in.
Hello.
Hi, Dane. Hello, hello. All right, Dane. So, where are we talking to you from today?
I'm in Kingston, New York, in my basement.
Right. Well, I'm in Burlington, Vermont, in my basement. So we've got something in common already. All right. So I see some musical instruments behind you. So that clues me in that you are a musician. What's your specialty? What type of music do you like most?
Well, I mean, I play guitar and bass, but I've always done some rock stuff and done some experimental stuff too. And, yeah, I mean, there was it was the surf music thing that kind of clued me in on something to, I was like, oh, this is a new thing I haven't done before.
So would you describe
some of that?
How would you describe surf music? I've heard it, but how would you describe it?
Right, well, especially it's instrumental surf music in the sense that it's not like so many people you say, hey, I got playing a surf band, a surf rock band. They're, oh, you mean like the Beach Boys? I'm like, no, that's not surf really. It's more like, a lot of it was instrumental. It was like right at the late 50s, early 60s when the technology was amplifiers and electric guitar and reverb. That's an important one, and the whole sound changed where everybody was like, in California, I guess it was other places too, but where it was all of a sudden you could really turn it up and get energy, and you could be in a, like playing to a full crowd in a gym that used to be a dance thing, and then they would just crank it up and everybody would go nuts with Dick Dale. You've probably heard of Dick Dale with the Miserlou. Pretty much anything on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. That's a good place to start.
That is, and I keep hearing the intro to Secret Agent Man too. Yep. That just that reminds me of what I think you're talking about.
Hawaii Five-0 and White
Yes,
House, of course.
Great music. All right, so what's the name of your band that you perform with?
That one's Bongo Surf, and that one started Bongo Surf, and not Bong O Surf. It's Bongo Surf. So we had to, because it was some friends of mine. They had started it long before I was in the band, but there was one of them played actually congas of all things. So I was not even a bongo player, congas and guitar, and they started jamming. And then their guitar player moved away for college or a job. That was like 10, 12 years ago. And my buddy Dave, we were in Jersey City at the time, and he's like, hey, man, you could play this stuff. I'm like, I don't know, man. All right, I'll give it a shot. Turns out it's very technical. I mean, the techniques, and I had played classical guitar, I'd played other things, but to get that sound right, there's very particular picking techniques, amplifiers, gear setup, guitar setups. So it was kind of hooked me on the tech side. And then we started playing, and it's always a party. At the surf.
We've got a clip. We've got a clip of your band. Right? Yeah, let's hear that.
Cool. It's the John Cage version.
I was dancing here. It's great dance music. Okay, so you were doing that. Your music sort of evolved into a different purpose. Tell me about that.
Well, that was interesting because in Jersey City, this would have been in like 1999. So this is going way back. I had a recording studio, and friends of mine that came to record, they were in a band called the Gwins then, and now they're called the Pink Delicates. And the drummer in that band had been in a bunch of these movies, these kind of comedy, girl on girl Skinamax, you could call him, that kind of thing. And he wasn't like in him like that. He was a producer, and his friend was the one, Mike, that was the one that made him at EI Cinema. And he's like, hey, Dane, so you got a studio, and you went to film scoring school, whatever that is. And we got this one called Gladiator Eroticus. You think you can write us a theme and a few battle scenes? And I'm like, sure. Like, what is this Gladiator Eroticus? And the whole idea of, like, back in the DVD days, where when a big hit like Titanic, Gladiator, all these Lord of the Rings, all of these would come out, they would time it but by the time it went to the theaters, they'd get to work and make a comedy girl on girl DVD that could be right up next to them when they were both on the shelf at Kim's Video or Tower, or something back then. So he's like, hey, they didn't have the internet doing the canned music as much. Nowadays you want battle scene, you search battle scene and you download something. But back then you had to actually get a composer to compose something for you. So,
right.
So
I think we have a clip. We have a clip of your work.
Oh, boy. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
There he is! He's fucking a Statue of Liberty! Yes! Yes! And cut! That's a print. I've got my movie.
It was Beauty that got the beast, eh, Seymour?
No, not Beauty. Just a large inflatable doll named Liberty. Good night, folks.
And what was the name of that film?
That one was Kinky Kong, so that one would have come out at the same time as the King Kong remake, I guess. So that one with the whole.
I'm curious why did they have him in a diaper? I don't understand.
Well, I don't know actually, but I think maybe they thought it was funny. They actually, even before that movie, I think they had a guy that used to show up in a gorilla suit in other movies randomly, and they'd be like, "Oh, there's the guy with the." So they're like, "Hey, let's do a Kinky Kong." I think it was because they couldn't have the schlong hanging out the whole time, probably to get on to still get on Skinamax, or whatever. So or Stars.
That's the sequel. Kinky Kong's dong, I think.
Yes. So yeah, that was a fun one in the sense that, John, which was the guy with the camera there, he comes in, he goes, all right, Mike wants this one. Can we do it all in like 5 hours, like the whole score for the whole hour and a half movie? I'm like, let's go. So it was literally me and him sitting in the studio, and I've got one hand on a keyboard, pulling up orchestral on the fly, watching the movie, going, okay, ooh, doo, doo, doo. And then for the sex scenes, because the sex scenes go on for like 10, 15 minutes. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit there and play all this. So we pull out jams from bands that came through the studio or stuff that we've done. It's like, yeah, that works, done. But that was.
Now, did you tell the bands? Did you tell the bands that you were using their music for that?
Yeah,
reason?
I would. It was usually like off take things either while I was in or he was in already, so it was kind of like
Okay. Can you imagine enjoying that cinematic wonder, and all of a sudden you realize, hey, that's my music.
Yes.
I'm singing that.
And it is, because sometimes it's like some of the bands I was in, and they'd be like, I don't think any of them saw it, but it was like when you hear it, you're like, that doesn't work at all. It's like hey, they just need the whole idea is everybody's watching with the sound off anyway, so they don't wake their anybody up. So they're like, yeah.
So Dane, what are you doing now? What are you still doing that?
No, I haven't done. I still do music stuff. I still until before the COVID thing, I still was playing. Going a couple times down in New York and New Jersey, and that's and doing gigs and stuff like that. And then, but in the COVID time, I've taken it to chance to like kind of rethink the home studio thing again, and since it's not about performing, it's like, what can you do recording with either collaborating with files online, doing some of these online real-time things like Jam Kazam and Sonobus, which lets you kind of play together, but there's still latency, as you know, as with this kind of thing. But at least you can get together and like you can have a beer and make some noise and and you don't have to drive home. That's always good too.
Always good. All right. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dane.
Yeah.
We'll bring you back for the quiz. Thank you
Can't wait.
very much.
Great.
All right. Oh, yes. Learn something new every day, don't you? Didn't think you'd see that, did you? Here on Amber Live.